Hey, thanks, Alex. Today is October 16th, Wednesday at 2 p.m. or actually it's 2:03 p.m. And this is the System Performance Committee for the KCRHA and the Washington 500 Continuum of Care. I'm supposed to start us out with a song today. So this song is another song that I wrote as per request by Tamara. So hopefully Tamara is enjoying putting me on the spot like this to provide my own lyrics. But anyway, so this starts out, what a time to be alive, what compels us to thrive. At least we know we can sleep comfortably at night. We were all taught to follow with the illusion that we lead, divided by the colors we bleed. We were all strung along with our youth strung out, with the just give us anything to suppress our doubt. What are we doing here if in the end we all go? It's the infamous question that no one ever knows. But I know that I'll see the sunrise tomorrow. Okay, so there's a little bit of lyrics for you guys.
What was the name of the song, Ruby?
It doesn't really have a name yet. It's something I'm working on, so I thought I would share that with you guys.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi, everybody. I apologize. I was having some technical difficulties getting on, so happy to be here. Thank you for kicking us off, Ruby, with that intro. And I don't want to impede us getting started. We can, did we do roll call already, Alex?
Not yet.
Okay, let's start with the basics and we'll go from there.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to call your name. Please just say present if you're here. Tamara Bauman.
Here.
Thank you. Sherry Tillman.
Here.
Margaret Woolley. Ruby Romero.
Here.
Thank you. Emil Floresca.
Here.
Marvin Futrell.
Here.
Christina Sawicki. Oh, let me check 1 second.
Yeah, let's check that, Alex.
Oh, is here. Perfect.
Oh, great.
Christina. Frank Shoot.
Frank, let me know he's not going to be able to join today.
Yeah. Please feel free to let me know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Ben Vaughan.
Here, and you nailed it. Good job. Nobody ever does.
Victoria Ewig Kwan.
Here.
With 8 members present, quorum is met. Two members absent, sorry. All ready to go. If someone would like to do the land acknowledgement theory of change.
Thank you, Alex. Tamara?
Yes, I have the land acknowledgement. Ruby, were you doing the theory of change? Okay, she's having well, I'll go ahead with the land acknowledgement, and then if we may need somebody to post the theory of change, because I don't have it in front of me right now. So I'm reading the land acknowledgement that was created by the Washington State's Lived Experience Coalition, and it goes like this. We acknowledge that this land is not only tribal land, but is a land that has been soaked in the blood of both Native elders and youth that were innocent, yet had their blood spilled over dirt and air. We also acknowledge that we cannot have true justice on blood-soaked land that has not been reconciled in the right way. We come today not only to remember those who were taken by hate and greed, but we're also here to see that these acts are put to an end for all people, not just Native people, but all those who call this land now home, so that future generations will live without hate and greed, but love and honor for all.
And I can read the theory of change if you give me just 1 second. Thank you for that, Tamara. That was beautiful. So the King County Regional Homelessness Authority theory of change is if we create a homeless response system that centers people with lived experience, then we will be able to focus on responding to needs and eliminating inequities in order to end homelessness for all. Back to you, Daniel.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you for that, Ruby and Tamara. And also thank you for getting us started. I know I was a little bit late getting on. I did want to just let everyone know two things. We're going to have the coordinated entry team go a little bit earlier in the agenda. Just Leah has until 3 o'clock. And I wanted to just ask if there was any objections to that, or if anyone wanted to propose where we might bump them up between the 2 and 3 o'clock hour. And then before we get right to that, I also wanted to let the group know that I have to step away to go pay for parking between like 2:55 and 3:05. So I thought we'd take a 10-minute break, and I just want to say thank you for saying some grace on that. Life happens, but a 10-minute break between 2:55 and 3:05. With that, Leah, was there any preference on giving an update? If you want to wait for Tom?
Oh no, I'll give the update so I can go whenever.
Okay. Any objections to having the coordinated entry committee delegate Leah talk about, sorry, the coordinated entry team, which Leah is part of, give an update a little bit earlier?
I move that we change the agenda to allow that to happen. Marvin.
So moved.
Okay, great, Marvin. So Leah, we had you, I believe, lower at like 3 o'clock. Would you like to take like the 2:25 slot, more or less, like in about 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. I think that'll give us enough time for updates and questions. And next we have our co-chairs with COC and IB board updates.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just noticed, Marvin, you have your hand up.
I forgot to take it down. I'm doing so now. Thanks.
Excuse me, Ruby.
Oh, no worries. It's always good to clarify. So yeah, thank you guys for being here today. I'm going to give a couple updates on the COC board and the implementation board, which is going to be meeting next month, I believe, on the second Wednesday from 2 to 4. And that would be one of the last meetings of the implementation board, I believe. And then on the COC board, we've been really working hard on the NOFO, which kind of ties into the NOFO work group update as well. But everything seems to be moving smoothly on that. And we've almost got the collaborative application finished, I believe, to be reviewed at our October 24th meeting at 3 p.m. for the COC board. It's gonna be a special meeting that we did post. I think the agenda is getting posted soon, if it hasn't already, right, Alex? I think so. Sorry, I'm not very prepared today. I apologize. If Tamara wants to maybe give any updates, that'd be helpful too. Sorry.
I don't know if I have any updates other than what I want to discuss regarding well-being, but that's later on in the agenda. Yeah, other than the NOFO work group stuff, I don't know that I have anything other than well-being.
Yeah, I think it's been kind of a,
perhaps to
sorry, it's just been
perhaps-
kind of with the NOFO for sure. So
yeah. Also to the discussion around co-chair, nominations and votes. Hopefully that will be, that's on the agenda, correct? Okay. So those are the only things that came to mind.
Was there anything, and I'm thinking of Marvin and our co-chairs here, anything related to the COC convening, that membership convening, any updates for this group that might be important?
Yeah, I think Tamara, do you have the convening update? Because I know I got a briefing on it yesterday, and I'm not sure if I have all the details right.
It's not much of an update other than the agenda has been determined and the date is November 20th at North Seattle Community College, I believe from 10 to 3 or I
10 to 1. I think it's 10 to 1.
Okay, 10
Yeah.
to 1. Yeah, that's right. It's a 3-hour convening. So that's really the only update I have. I know that there's going to be training on racial equity and some discussion around the NOFO, I believe, but other than that, I don't have any updates.
Sorry
Looking
to
at the
jump
charter
in.
too,
Do we have is there a staff lead for that, or where's that? Is there a committee for that work?
There's supposed to be. Yeah, Victor is kind of has been kind of the liaison. We've only had one work group meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, this was all pretty much predetermined.
it's not like the other convening planning work group. I will say that.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the update.
For Marvin and all, since everyone that is part of this committee is a COC board member, I believe this is the one. Is this the one required annual meeting that members need to go to? I believe that's in our System Performance Committee charter. I might have to pull that up at some point between this call just to confirm.
It's the second convening of the year.
This is the second convening. Okay. So I'll make sure that this group knows the details on that. And if you haven't been, I'm thinking of you, Ben. I'm thinking of Frank and others who've joined a little late. That might be something we'll have to prepare for. You'll have to prepare for to join. But let me confirm that in our charter just to make sure I'm not conflating that with another annual member meeting of sorts. I will share out with this group. I am going to be giving a presentation. It is not fully put together yet, but it's mostly put together, and it is going to be focused on HMIS data as it relates to race and equity. It's not going to be just to give everyone a prelude. It's not going to be me showing race data, race ethnicity data, and outcomes. I'm going to start with some fundamentals at this convening, and the presentation is going to be centered around educating the members on HMIS data, the limits, what we can do, and what we do have for tools to measure race and ethnicity and outcomes. So it's going to be a kind of hopefully a start of more education on the topic. So starting at the base of that, if you will, at the root of the race and ethnicity.
Yeah, we didn't do public comments, and also we have a couple hands raised in the attendees, Janelle and Bella.
Oh, great. I'm wondering if Janelle needs to be promoted.
And Bella too, because they're on the System Performance Committee now.
Oh, great. You're both here. Hi, Bella. Hi, Janelle.
Hello, everyone. For those of you guys who don't know who I am, my name is Janelle Rothfolk. I use she, her pronouns. I work alongside Daniel at KCRHA in the Community Impact Team, which is the data analytics and reporting and research arm of KCRHA. I just wanted to add a few things to Daniel's comment, if that is okay. So the convening race and ethnicity and equity conversation is going to be a presentation, but so that to make sure that we are in alignment with our language as we talk about race and ethnicity. It's a lot, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I think it'd be really important to make sure that we have that shared language and that we are, when we're talking and move forward to doing the different measures and evaluating our HMIS data for equity standards, we want to first start make sure that everyone is on the same page, and also provide the opportunity for the COC to provide valuable information and feedback to us as the analytic team as to what would be important for us to measure, and what are things that are both to measure and also to get a sense as to your shared understanding of what these potential data metrics could mean. And that is where we would like to start and make sure that we have that good, strong foundation before we start to just kind of throw numbers and comparisons and percentages at everybody. We want to make sure that we have that that grounding. And so we would like to take some more time, and Daniel's working on a presentation, and we're envisioning some work group process as well to this part of the presentation. So that's what we're working on, and we really would like to invite this committee here. You know, if anyone would like to provide some input or suggestions or anything that you think would be helpful as we kind of enter into these conversations. And continue to work towards centering data and centering race and equity in all the lines of work that we do. So I just open it up there.
Marvin?
Hi, Janelle. Thank you. The additional comments all been very helpful. Bringing an equity lens is a beautiful thing. What I've always been concerned about with our HMIS and our data is that it only represents a small portion of the homeless community that it actually touches. I know we've developed algorithms to expand that data so that we might have a more comprehensive view of what our population of our displaced peoples looks like. And I don't want to meet, for me, I never want to meet what standards that HUD, we were created to go beyond those standards. We should be able to define and represent with a greater equity, and or I hear the term racial lens. I think it is a basic understanding of who's in our community and how they're being represented in the data portion that we have to use to track. I know that hopefully that doesn't add too much, but it is something, you know, that I would always question as a community member. Is it being captured? Are we getting a good representation so that we can hopefully build solutions that actually end homeless, not continue to manage it? Thanks. None of that was a question to be answered. Those were thoughts to be shared because you're going to give us a presentation sometime soon. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Marvin.
Thank you, Marvin. And Janelle, thank you as well for that added context for the group. Looks like we skipped over public comment. Apologies on that. I'd like to
Can I ask a question before we go to public comment real quick, Daniel?
Oh, sure, absolutely, Bella.
Thanks. And in reply to what you're talking about concerning data, Janelle, and building off of what Marvin just said, as a new member of the subcommittee, I'm interested to understand where the lists of defining racial lens are what are you basing the terminology and the descriptions off of? Is it exclusively from a governmental and HUD focused list? And if so, where is that? And that might help us point to maybe variances that Marvin might be speaking to, or that expanding upon would be able to be reviewed against. So if you can let me know, where you've been compiling those references from, and or, provide those so that we know what the basis of your data analytics is based on. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think our team has been given a framework for racial lens. Most of the work we do would be linked to our 5-year plan. And then whatever data requirements we have for HUD. And mostly what we're focused on is data completeness. And so making sure that providers don't have a lot of data not collected in the fields. And there's an old coordinated entry document for percentages of racial categories that you should be seeing as they're moving through the coordinated entry process. So from referral or to assessment, from referral to enrollment. But it's pretty old. So there are those are the only local benchmarks that I have seen, but I'm not an expert. Someone else may, and my team may have seen something else, but that would be mostly HUD when it comes to this sort of analysis really leans on the communities to define that. And so that's sort of a chicken and egg where I'm like, I'm turning to you guys to please tell me how you would like me to measure this for you. Because I would not say that I would be an expert in that at all. I would really depend on you all to help for us to do it collectively.
If I may, yes, that document, it is old, and it's a place to start. I know that completeness is a big part of what we do. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to bring the additional lenses to the work that we were doing. Sometimes it was successful, sometimes it was not. But for the most part, it seems that what is either difficult or didn't work the first time either is shelved, and we don't allow new groups of people to take a look at it. Sometimes the composition of the creators aren't necessarily the right folks to actually implement some new and good ideas. So I just wanted to throw that out, because if there are system performance committee members or board members that don't always get a chance to see all of the documents, even for a young group like us, we've only been around 4 years. There's a lot that is that starts and stalls. But I like Bella's ask is, at least let's take a look at it so that we can see if we can integrate some things, and if not, work on other things. Sorry to take up so much time. I was just trying to give a little chip in on what I'd like to see from our HMIS system and when it's presented. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, you're muted if you're speaking to this group.
Dang it. Sorry, Daniel, I know we need to move to public comment. I just wanted to point out that Bella Iron is present, so we do have 9 members present, and I did add her to the list of new members. So welcome, Bella. And Daniel, if you want to move us to public comment, we can get going on that before we jump into the agenda.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's go ahead and move into public comments. And I don't know if we have anyone. Looks like Mike, are you still with us?
It looks like Mike dropped.
Alex, do we have anybody else out there?
No one in attendees. No one has their hand up.
Okay.
Oh, Mike did say that he couldn't stay any longer, but please send my message along to the members in the committee. Says he wanted to say thank you for all of your help last month. Anything helps was approved for HMIS access, and we have you all to thank for that. Our staff and clients all appreciate your contribution to this outcome. But he had to jump off, so.
Okay, great, Alex. Thank you for that. Well, seeing that there is nobody else here wanting to give public comments, I do have an anything helps update, kind of encapsulated there in that comment. But I'm gonna hand it over to Leah in the essence of time for a coordinated entry update, and so that we can have some time to ask some questions.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Leah Sima Fahori. She used she, her pronouns, and I am the program coordinator on the coordinate entry team. Tom Reagan is our new coordinate entry manager, but he is unable to be here today, so I am here in his stead. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update on two things. One, I wanted to give a status update on the inventory project. So as a reminder, right, over the last couple of years, like truly, actually, it's been like 2 years, but for the last few years and months, we've been working with all of our housing providers and shelter providers, and really any provider that has resources that are set aside for homeless folks, to work to get that all in HMIS, so we can move towards a system where we have real-time live information about where everyone is at and what is the status of our system and how much capacity our resources have. Back in September, we transitioned most of our agencies into using the new system and got them on board with those coordinated entry units. So we are live in the coordinated entry system with those units for most of our providers. At the beginning of October, we transitioned CCS, which is a large portfolio, and they are now utilizing the new system with the coordinated entry. Two providers that we're still working on to get transitioned over are DESC as well as Muslim Housing Services. We are working with them and meeting with them regularly to get them moving along into the system. The goal is to start with, making sure that all of the coordinated entry units are functioning as expected in the new system using this inventory in HMIS. But we do also have goals to kind of expand and look at all of the other resources as well that should be in there, and making sure that providers are updating the information real time for all of those other units and resources. So we're still a little bit ways away to actually getting a clear concise picture of what the system is looking like in relation to resources and shelter resources as well as housing resources, but we're on the way get there. And that's just kind of the status update of what's been done, who's in progress, where we're going. So I hope the next time we meet, I'll be able to have a little bit more clarity on timelines that we're hoping to have in terms of getting the new providers onboarded into the system, and then when we expect the whole system to be functioning as expected. So that's the update on inventory. I also wanted to give an update on our coordinated entry for DV system, and just kind of set the stage a little bit because there may be a decision coming down the pike. So our coordinated entry, so the DV coordinated entry system is a separate system that has been set up outside of the mainstream coordinated entry system, and the Coalition for Ending Gender-Based Violence is the recipient of that contract, and so they administer and manage the coordinated entry system for DV, which they call DV CHAP. We have been working with them over the past few months to figure out what we want to do with the system in relation to data, particularly how we want to manage those resources, as well as that referral process for the DV coordinated entry system. And something that we're working with BitFocus on is getting like an assessment of what that would look like to have that be set up in Clarity in our BitFocus, whether it's in our instance or in a separate instance. So we're doing so at this point we're doing a lot of like research with BitFocus and the coalition to understand what are our options. Once we get an analysis done from BitFocus, we're probably going to be able to put forth a recommendation that would go to vote for the SPC as well as the CEC and then the COC to vote in like a system shift to have a coordinated entry DV system that is inclusive of like an actual database. DV CHAP is an anagram. You're putting me on the spot here. Let me find what it is. I don't know it off the top of my head. It's the DV Coordinated Housing Access Point. That's what it stands for. So I just want to like lay that like very big view foundation. My hope and goal is to have the coalition be able to attend one of these meetings to kind of talk a little bit more about what the work they're doing. And then, you know, we'll have some more information as we get some more information. We'll have some more information for you all once we get more information from BitFocus on like what are the options and what the recommendation is. So just wanted to share that. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing crickets, I'm gonna pass it back to Daniel. Oh yes, and Janelle, Daniel, if there's anything else you wanted to add, because I was just, if there's anything else you wanted to add in relation to like what I was talking about related to DV chat, please feel free to chime in.
Thanks for that, Leah. I don't have anything specifically that you haven't mentioned about DB chat. And I just want to say, for all those who have been part of this journey of the inventory project and the work that's being done for the with the Coalition for Ending Gender-Based Violence, special thank you to Leah and Tom on the coordinated entry team. You've really been putting in the work and working with providers and getting this process up and going over the last 2 months. Really longer than that, but really doing the working with providers on the new process. So thank you so much for all your hard work on that. Were there any other questions? If not, I'm gonna move to the next item here on
Real
the
quick,
agenda.
Daniel.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not a question. It's sometimes just a matter of how we work. If you're going to ask for a recommendation or support for work that's coming through, the more touches that each committee gets to see the work, it's always helpful. It's hard to make a blind, cast your vote blindly. I often say that we may never understand all the integral pieces, but the more we get to touch the work, the better or where we are of where the direction in which we're going. So I just want to offer that in, because only reason I say this is I heard that there's a decision coming. So being ahead of that 8 ball is sometimes a good place to start, especially as we're running out of time this year and the last convening's coming quickly. Thanks.
Marvin, thank you for that. I put a note here. Leah, just in response to that, is there anything that you can think of, and maybe we can do this offline, on how we can get material circulated early for this group, and happy to brainstorm with you and the coordinated entry team on that.
Yeah, I think Marvin, what you've uplifted is like exactly why I'm here today, to like start laying the foundation, because and you know, like who knows when, like it's a later decision, but I wanted to like come out here and start talking about it sooner rather than later.
Back to you, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you. I was just checking the chat there. Thank you, Bella. Bella writes in the chat, I agree with Marvin's sentiments, especially as the quote-centered part of this process. Thank you for that, Bella. With that, I'm going to give an update on Anything Helps. The good news there is that Anything Helps has started. We did a thorough review, and we followed the process outlined in our onboarding documents. And we had Anything Helps work. I've been working with them in this last month to review their policies and procedures. And I want to say thank you for Gail and Mike for that work. And once that was shored up and the recommendations that were given were used and applied, and they were updated in their policies and procedures and met all of the expectations that were outlined to them. That went to our chief, Owen, who reviewed that, gave some recommendations, and then there was some further updates by Anything Helps. And then that was also simultaneously approved by Owen and Tom Reagan, who is the coordinated entry manager. And that followed our process pretty closely. Actually, it followed the process completely. And I'm happy to announce that Anything Helps is now onboarding into the HMIS. They are not fully in the system yet. There's some admin stuff and some agreements that need to be signed, but that's being handled by our BitFocus admin team. Thank you, Melissa, for doing that work. I will say, one of the ways in which we wanted to make this second half of the experience better, if you will, I want to thank the BitFocus team and Janelle, who put together an onboarding checklist and a process that we now have to give agencies as they embark on becoming an HMIS participating agency, that outlines each step in the process to becoming an HMIS provider. And we did that. Thank you again, Lauren and Melissa, put that together, and we sent that out to Mike and the Anything Helps team, so that it's totally transparent on what the next steps are for them to get to that point where they're logging in and doing the work that they are going to be doing in the HMIS. So just want to say thank you to the BitFocus team for putting that together. Any questions about that?
Wow, I'm really excited to hear that update. Thank you so much, Daniel. It's great to hear that we finally kind of come to a resolution on the situation, and just that everybody feels good about how they work together. And also, it sounds like we have a protocol now for doing the onboarding, which is always a good thing to have. So thank you to the team. I'm really excited to hear that this has come to a good resolution. Thanks.
Thank you, Ruby. I'm just checking the chat now. I don't see any questions related to that. Anybody else before I move on to the next part of the agenda? Okay, well, the next part of the agenda, we're kind of jumping around with the shuffling of the coordinated entry update, is the HMIS annual survey. This was finalized. We got input from Frank on the committee. We got input from Janelle and the others on the community impact team. And with Melissa, we worked with Melissa and Lauren at BitFocus, and that has been finalized. Melissa, I was going to ask if you wanted to unmic and talk about when that was going to be sent out to users.
Sure, we will have it finalized by the end of this week to go out the beginning of the next week, so Monday, October 21st, and it will be open for 2 weeks before closure. And then we will analyze it and then report back to this committee.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. So on that, the goal here is to have that survey out, compile those results, as Melissa said, and bring that in November for the group to see the results. Ideally, we're able to use that information for our annual work plan and glean from there any objectives that we want to put in for 2025. So this survey is going to be really important for informing us on the experience of HMIS users, and do our best to wrap around support from this committee to make any improvements necessary that we might find in the report. Questions, Marvin?
Yes. Did I hear that the window was 2 weeks for the survey? I'd like to highlight that we've encountered through our work with the team of care that 2 weeks is sometimes a hard turnaround for the smaller agencies that really we're trying to capture in this work. And if the 2 week window is due to timing, you know, maybe we can build in a better timeline next year that allows for a broader capture of the system's response. It's the other side of this discussion that we've often talked about, that making sure there's enough time for everyone to take part. Big agencies turn around, it's nice, they're going to assign it to someone. Smaller agencies, someone's going to stop doing their work to try to do this survey. I want to be clear that we need to see what our community is doing, steps they have to take for completion of the work, not just you got to do it and run away, because that leaves a lot of the smaller agencies strapped. Thanks.
I'd like to build on what Marvin just said, again, not to keep following in your coattails, Marvin, but as somebody who has worked a lot with data analytics, I'm curious, and I'm new to this group. What does this survey mapping look like? I don't know if it's on some kind of PDF somewhere, but just some of the basic, main points of it are what are your mechanisms for sending the survey out? What reminders and communications do you have scheduled, and when is the deadline for those, and how are those being sent out, and how were the questions found and framed for the survey? Is that information somewhere that we could have sent to us? Thanks.
Melissa, Lauren, do you want to talk about some of the logistics on that? I'm happy to go. I think you might. Just want to give you an opportunity if you wanted to give.
So for logistics, we typically use a type form method. I think KCRHA can speak to the longstanding questions for kind of analysis that can be conducted year to year. I'll let them speak more to that, but for the logistics and reminders, we typically use a HubSpot reminder, which we basically send reminders to all active users in the HMIS to complete the survey. And then I do see a comment from Janelle that we can also extend another week for data collection and send additional reminders. So it's flexible. So if we, decide to move away from the 2 weeks and have 3 weeks, we can do that. But it would be a weekly reminder via email to all active users in the HMIS.
Thank you for that, Melissa. I would support extending it as well.
Great, thank you for that recommendation. Looks like we can. I'll work, Bella, Marvin, and I'll work with with Melissa and Lauren to see if that changes anything with the November presentation for it. That could change depending on how much time is needed for the analysis. So we'll talk about that and see if there's anything like but thank you for that recommendation and extending it for a week. In terms of year after year analysis of the survey, we we did go over the survey, Bella. Unfortunately, you weren't at the last System Performance Committee where we went through that. But we can get that survey sent out so that the group can see the final results. Melissa, can we put that on our to-do list for Friday to check in and see if we can get that sent out to the committee?
Yeah, just a document of the questions.
Yeah, just the document of the questions. I think that would be really good. And
Sure.
then the year after year analysis, there were some changes this year. I'll work with Melissa and Lauren to identify that so everyone here knows exactly what questions those were. And in terms of a year after year analysis, I don't believe that one has been done. But we do have similar questions. Again, a lot of them stayed the same, so we can look at what responses looked like last year. And we can take a look at doing some kind of long last 3 years or 5-year kind of analysis. I don't think we have anything. I know Janelle's on the call. I think we only have the last 3 years worth of those surveys.
Probably 4 years. This is, yeah. We probably have a little bit longer, and typically we compare from the year prior for those questions to see if there's been any change to the user's satisfaction of the software and the system administration support that they're receiving. So that's the main pieces of the survey. This year, because we have added inventory and some of our providers that are utilizing row funding are using the outreach module. So those are some new system changes in the HMIS. We thought it would be good to edit those and include those questions for those providers. And then I know Frank had provided some comments around doing some constraints on some of the questions based on the respondent's role. And so those will be built into the type form.
Excellent. Really quickly, while that information and presentations to the System Performance Committee is great and the COC board is beautiful, the idea of having convenings is when these yearly analysis take place, we invite our continuum of care body to be in the room, to be present so they can learn more about their system, how it works. Convenings aren't necessarily, and I'm just not a jab, aren't just a place to go do trainings. It is the place to build community, bring the community in to see our work that they will never see on a day-to-day basis throughout the year. So that they know the work is being done and collecting. There's a one-stop shopping here for collecting more information for how we might look at system change. And I'm sorry I said that word because that's work that we haven't yet picked up on. Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't traditionally brought the HMIS satisfaction survey results to the COC advisory board. We typically bring it to this committee. You guys are welcome to bring it to whatever spaces you would like. I'm always a supporter of bringing HMIS information and data in front of community to respond and react to. So happy to help any way to support in that.
I'll be there in the crowd. For the present board members, keep that in mind. Sometimes keeping track and listing helps put reminders out that get you information in a fashion that isn't restrictive on either side. Thanks.
Great. Was there anybody else with a question? I'm going to check chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, on the agenda, there is, Ruby, you were asking about the HMIS status update from Lauren. We're going to take a break here in about 2 minutes. So I think what we have time for is I just want to talk about committee dates quickly. Janelle, thank you for putting that in the chat. It looks like the COC membership convening is going to be overlapping with our System Performance Committee next month in November. No.
Well, your convening is from 9 to 2 and the System Performance Committee is from 2 to 4. So if people are attending in person, we may want to, we'll ask Catherine if we have the space longer, right, Alex? And maybe we could.
I think the convening ends at 1, doesn't
Oh,
it?
it ends at 1?
Is it over
Okay.
at 1? Okay. I have it on my calendar from 9 to 2, so I'm not for sure. I mean, it's just a hold, so I'm not 100% on what the whole time was, but if that's the case, then great. If it does end at 2 and the SBC meeting starts at 2, would we like to reschedule the next SBC meeting just so that people don't have to scramble? If that's the case, what do you think?
I mean, usually the college is pretty agreeable to letting us use the space for longer if people wanted to stay.
Also flagging that Janelle, you and Daniel are both presenting at the convening.
Yeah.
We can discuss it. It doesn't have to be Daniel. I know you need to pay your parking.
Yeah, I would. What I'd like to do, if everyone is okay, and let's look and confirm that it ends at 1 and not 2. And if it does end at 2, I would lean towards what Janelle had proposed, which is seeing if we can keep the room longer and see if we can, since everyone's going to be there anyways, we just kind of roll right into. It'll be a long day, but we could roll right into System Performance Committee. Janelle, you're shaking your head. It'll be a long day.
Up to you guys, whatever you want to do. We will support you in however you want.
I mean, I think it would be great to have a System Performance Committee meeting in person. So that's just me.
I will check to see if we can get the room reserved for longer. I'm pretty sure we did pay. Oh, it ends at 1. We're good. It ends at 1. So.
It does.
Yeah, the COC convening ends at 1. SBC meeting starts at 2. Should be enough time for people. I can ask if we can extend the room, but
I mean, for those that would like to stay, can we extend the room?
let me. I'll see what I can find out
Just
and
so
get
that
back
we have
to you
the
guys by the
option.
end of the meeting. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks, Alex.
Okay, so I think we're gonna go on a break now, right?
Yeah. Everyone, let's take a 10-minute break and we'll be back at 3:05.
Alex, I think I might have sent you a slide that we can pull up and maybe edit to say 3:05, but if you wanted to, I don't know if you saw that in your inbox. You can see the email, just FYI.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. Hi, Ruby.
Hello.
Alex, I don't know if you also saw in your email, any of those candidate questions or whatever, or the co-chair candidate questions.
Ruby, I'm sorry, what was the question on that one? If we,
Oh, you're fine. I was just saying I did send out the co-chair questionnaire. Like it's a couple of questions that people might want to answer if they're nominating themselves for the System Performance Committee co-chair position. And I was just wondering if maybe we could email them out to the committee members.
yes, we can. Alex, is that something you could do here with the committee list you have? We might have to wait if Alex is still. Alex isn't that with us here yet. Ruby, I can do that for us. I'd like to just get us started and confirm our December meeting. And then
Yes.
Lauren, Melissa and Lauren, if you're able to give the HMIS status update presentation during that time, Ruby, I'll send out those questions to the committee if Alex isn't back on.
Okay, so should I go? Is that
Let me just start. I'm hoping that we have enough people back from the call that we can talk about the December meeting.
okay?
And I just want to put it out there that holidays tend to be obviously challenging for most every organization to meet. In December last year, we canceled the System Performance Committee for the holidays. This year, I wanted to propose an alternative date that's earlier in the month and a shorter meeting from 1 to 2 p.m. And I wanted to just get reactions on that and see if others are in favor. And if not, we may need to figure something else out in the alternative. So I'm going to open that up to the group for some quick discussion. Anybody want to talk about or give a response to meeting on December 11th between 1 and 2 instead of the third Wednesday between 2 and 4?
This is Sherry. That works for me, the earlier in the month. So the 11th, that's fine, 1 to 2.
I too like it, Marvin.
Yeah, I think I can make a motion then, unless is there still discussion going on? Sounds like we might be able to make a motion on moving the System Performance Committee meeting to December 11th, which is a Wednesday, from 1 to 2 p.m. instead of the original date, which is December 18th, from 2 to 4 p.m. So
We're talking about moving the December meeting, not the November one, the December one.
Can I ask for clarification on what the challenges were from last year and also what the options for this shift this December were? Thank you.
Hi, Bella. My recollection, I hadn't barely started at the KCRHA, and I'm trying to remember if that was already when I joined in September, if that was already canceled for December. I don't think that it was. I'm not sure if Ruby or Tamara, you remember. I think it was just in conflict with the end of the month and the and Christmas coming up for folks. And then the proposed date, Bella, is instead of December 18th between 2 and 4. We looked at calendar, being the co-chairs in a planning meeting, and landed on the Wednesday before, and then tightening up that meeting to 1 hour, knowing that it was a bit of an inconvenience. And then Ruby, I just wanted to respond. You asked, do I put in a motion? I think certainly put in a motion, and then there is a discussion as part of the parliamentary process, if you will.
Yeah, then I would like to entertain a motion, or I guess I would like to make a motion to move the System Performance Committee meeting to December 11th, Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? We kind of had some already, but is there any further discussion?
Janelle has her hand up.
Yeah, just wanted to highlight for the committee, one of the main responsibilities is approving the annual HMIS work plan. The system, the BitFocus team and the CI team will be working in the next few weeks into November in developing a draft proposal for you guys to review, and also give you an update of the projects that we've accomplished for this year. So just want to make sure that I want you guys to have enough time to review that, have us answer any questions, do any revisions, and be prepared to vote on that either at the December meeting, or if there's still work that needs to be done. In the past, they have voted in January, which is fine. We'll still be able to move forward with the work plan, but that's one of the main responsibilities of this committee, and I just want to make sure that you guys have plenty of time to review it, for us to answer questions. It's kind of a lengthy, there's a lot of pieces in it. So we could start that in November and then maybe approve it, but I'm just saying, if you do it in December with an hour, that may be like the main thing that happens.
Is there, oh, I'm sorry, is there somebody else that had their hand up? But I was just curious if there was a forecast of a lot of differences in the plan from last year.
It's a good question. I don't think that there'll be a lot of differences unless you guys have changes you would like to make. Most likely the proposal will include additional support for inventory management, is what I would suspect. But like I said, we haven't had a chance to kind of review it yet.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I was just gonna make a suggestion that, you know, maybe we can take a look at the last year and get familiarized with it during our November meeting with Daniel or something like that, and just kind of see, so we know the components a little bit better, and make it, you know, depending on how long it takes to kind of get everything together. If it's the December meeting and that's where we focus all of our energy, I think that's probably a big thing to focus on if it's a work plan for a year. But I'm open to January hearing about it as well. So just whatever works for you guys. I don't want to make you rush. I don't want to make you, you know, stress yourself out around the holidays. So just whatever works for you.
No, it's no problem. Happy to do it. We should have both this year's and the draft proposal for next year in time for the meeting on the 20th of November.
Thank you for that information, Janelle. A couple of questions. Is it possible to continue the meeting in December from 1 to 2 hours as an option? And or if not, what are the deadlines that you're up against with having us review?
Ideally, it would be good to have the work plan approved no later than the January System Performance Committee, because I just don't want our HMIS team to have to be working without a work plan for too much longer into the year. There's not a hard deadline. It's something that yeah, it's just, it would be better to have it done at least in January.
Are there normally any other topics on the agenda at the monthly meeting during December?
There would be definitely a HMIS like status update, and probably an update on the NOFO. Just thinking off the top of my head. Daniel, do you have anything we?
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm looking to see. I don't think we met December of last year. We were in the full swing of the pit planning, and I am almost certain, I'm going to look at notes right now, that we ended up voting in that work plan in January, like what Janelle is describing.
And we can try to move most of the end of the year work to the November meeting, so then December can be a little bit lighter.
I mean,
And
oh, go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say, I think I'm right with Janelle on that. With our consolidated NOFO application getting complete, that's not going to be any work tasks for the data management team. So that's going to be complete. So I really think it can bring a lot more attention to the work plan up until November. So I think that is possible. I do.
Okay. Yeah, and I also think it would be good to take a good hour to like talk about it too if we needed to, and just have that light, because I think that December is important to have a meeting still. I don't think that we need to take it off. So just for the record.
Can I ask for clarity on why that particular December meeting would be reduced to 1 hour? Where was the, impetus for that? If it was being bumped up to not conflict with holiday or travel plans?
I think we came to that decision because that is usually the day that the implementation board meets as well, which is the second Wednesday, usually from 2 to 4, and that it might be the final implementation board. So meeting. So I think that might have been something that played into it on my end for a suggestion. Just because I like to watch those meetings and hear what's going on in them.
And if I could add, Bella, I think that's a really great question. I think one of the things we were circling around in our planning meeting is we just didn't want to outright cancel it and try to keep something and try to keep it in an afternoon on a Wednesday, but really wanted to bring it up today, actually, and to get feedback and see if there was another day or if we want to do a full 2 hours, 11 to 1.
Thank you for the responses. Since I'm new, I am trying to get context. I'm not attached one way or another. I just want to make sure that whatever it is that we have responsibility around, including deadlines that would make things more difficult for other people to, process what they need on their end properly. But if this is kind of extending something that wasn't even carried out last year, like I said, I'm not attached to it. I'm just asking questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. Is there any other discussion? Not hearing any. Is there any hands in the chat? Okay. Well, I think we can move into a vote. Should we do a roll call on this one?
Yes, I think yes, I want to do that. Alex, are you ready to take roll call on that vote?
Yes, just give me 1 second.
See, Alex, unmuted it. Alex, ready?
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Great. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. The vote to move the December 18th meeting to December 11th and to shorten the time. Are we still shortening the time? Correct. To 1 hour.
Yeah, the motion was from 1 to 2.
Great. Sorry, just making sure I record the motion correctly. I'm going to call names. Please state your vote. Tamara Bauman.
Aye.
Sherry Tillman.
Aye.
Margaret Woolley, Ruby Romero,
Yes, thank you.
Emil Floresca,
Aye.
Marvin Futrell,
Aye.
Christina Sawicki. Christina, do you want to put your decision in the chat? Okay, come back. Frank Scott.
Frank was unable to attend today.
Yep, okay, thank you. Ben Vaughan,
Aye.
Victoria Ewig Kwan,
Aye.
Bella Irons.
Aye.
Okay, motion is passed with 8 yeses.
Okay, great. Then we'll be having a December System Performance Committee on December 11th from 1 to 2. And we'll make sure, Alex and I will make sure we send update that on the website. So that's clear for everybody.
Actually, Daniel, that flags a good thing that we didn't think about preemptively, as we would need to have our materials posted a little earlier than we usually do. So we usually have our planning for the co-chairs that are going to be possibly, elected today, and for the other committee members. We do our planning meetings on the first Wednesday, and that might not be enough time to do the agenda and get it posted, or would it be? Do we feel pretty good about that?
Yeah,
Just
well,
flagging.
Yes, I imagine that 1 hour is going to be fully dedicated to just going over whatever we didn't get to on terms of work plan and a vote for the work plan
Okay,
for
great,
start in
thank you.
January. So it's going to be very we'll obviously we'll have our planning meeting. I imagine it's going to be a very targeted committee meeting, just focused on that vote and the any last lingering questions about the work plan.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'm sorry, I'm a little laggy. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Melissa to give us an HMIS status update.
Thank you, Daniel. For those, I know we have some new faces, but for those who don't know me, my name is Melissa Sutton-Demen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a senior project administrator with BitFocus, and myself and my colleague Lauren help KCRHA implement the COC's HMIS instance. So for our report out, it's pretty simple. We're going to go through some very basic stats. And we can go ahead and get started. So here is our HMIS report out for the month of October. It is covering information from the month of September because that was the last completed month. So we have 149 active agencies, 1,461 active users, and we have 10,475 user logins. So lots of activity going on. Program activity, we do have 660 active programs. The project types that have the most new enrollments include coordinated entry, we have day shelters, and then we have emergency shelters, and those are of the entry exit style. And then our focus area for quarter 4 of our work plan is to create, circulate, and analyze annual HMIS user survey. We are in the circulate component of this item. We are moving through the COC wide annual deduplication process. We are moving through the annual security and privacy and security training and compliance checklists with the HMIS agencies. And we are working towards the creation of an importance of data quality training that will be towards the end of the year. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Yeah, I was gonna actually just ask what Bella was asking about. I think we had mentioned about the comparable data from previous months and just being able to kind of see the month over month users and logins and stuff like that. I just wanted to flag that.
Sure, I'll let Daniel address that. Oh, if you're talking, Daniel, we can't hear you.
I can help support Daniel. Oh, there you are.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's connecting to audio.
How about now?
Mhm.
I can't. I'm sorry, Ruby, could you repeat that last part?
Oh, yeah. We were just curious about the month over month. I think it was maybe a committee member that brought it up, one of our meetings, mentioning looking at the previous numbers over the current numbers of the HMIS access logins and stuff like that.
Yes, thank you, Ruby, for that. There is a dashboard that I'm working on, and Melissa helped out earlier in the month. I'm not ready to show that yet. There needs to be a review of those numbers to ensure that it's describing accurately, and it's not all of the numbers that Melissa has. What I can do is, Melissa, we can take a look at that next Monday. I'll put that in as a ticket for us to review and see, compare that with the dashboard, and then see what we can bring back. Ruby, does that work for you?
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, thank you. I'd be interested. I'm interested on that update. So thank you so much. And I think Bella had a further question in the chat, but I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Bella?
Actually, you addressed it, Daniel. I didn't know if we had access to, like real time, or if there was, how this information was gathered and presented, if we had the ability to access, certain parameters of it, but you said that you're working on that. So thank you.
Yeah, I think what I'll need to do, I do have a look, for those of you that are in the HMIS, there is a tool that you can use to query, and I do have a look that shows some of what Melissa has, but Melissa and I need to compare notes to make sure that we're going to get to the same figures and we're reporting the same thing. So we do need to do that before I can put out an analysis. And the alternative, and I'll work with you, Melissa, on this, we could just take those snapshots and put those in a table for everybody and see how far back we can go with that. That's another alternative to it. But I agree with you, Bella. I think continuous monitoring of system growth and system change is really important. And that's why I'm leaning towards a dashboard.
Yeah. I'd be really excited to see that table as well. If that's something that we can quickly throw together for like the next meeting, just like at least the month over month for past 3 months or something like that. I'd be interested. That's great to hear. I'm excited to see that dashboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm moving on in the agenda. I wanted to give an update on our policy review for onboarding new agencies. So one of the nice things about having finished and completed the work of getting Anything Helps started in their onboarding process is now that we have that done and we have lessons learned on some areas for improvement on that in our documentation, we're going to be taking that information and doing a update on our onboarding of new agencies policy. This also is going to be inclusive of looking at how our inventory, how the coordinated entry system is operating and their need for agencies to participate in HMIS as part of their prioritization or their intervention matching. And for that purpose, the update I want to give to the committee is that Owen and myself met with the HUD technical assistance advisors, Susan and Joanne, and they're going to be supporting that work with me and with the committee. So the process right now is we have our, they're actually going to be supporting a review of all of the HMIS policies that we have to make sure that they are in alignment with HUD guidelines and that they are following best practices. And they're going to be working in tandem with myself, the community impact and data management team to enshrine any changes that we need to in those policies. Add any of those additions to the policies and then bring that to the system performance committee for a review. And once that review is complete and feedback is gathered, get that to vote in those updates on those policies. And in particular, going to be prioritizing the review of onboarding of new agencies. And so that's the update. This is a really great thing to have our technical assistance advisors, and two of them to be helping us through this process. They have both Susan and Joanne have extensive experience doing this in other communities. That Susan's been doing this work for the last 15 years on behalf of HUD. So really, really excited to start that work with them. Any questions about that?
Would that be the work group that's working on that? Or is that going to be like the work group and Daniel and Susan, or the work group that we were going to review our policies and stuff for the, remember?
Yes. I just met with Susan and Joanne last week, Ruby. But that would be one of the goals, is to bring them into that work group. Although what's nice about Susan and Joanne is that they're going to be able to work on some of that review independently. So I think more than them joining the work group, we can kind of direct them to like areas that we see that we know there might be improvements where we want to make some changes, and have them review those and ensure that, that's following the HUD guidelines on that for the areas that we want to improve. So they're going to be more working behind the scenes and supporting and reviewing and then making recommendations for that work, as I see it, for that work group, rather than joining the work group.
Okay.
And then I'm just looking in the chat here. Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the chat on that particular piece. So let's move on. Ruby, do you want to talk about the board, or Tamara, do you want to, I know we have member applications, system performance member applications that we wanted to talk about. Do we actually want to start, Tamara, with talking about the co-chair positions and Bella, I saw that you had an email to me, kind of wondering what those questions are that got sent out. And I think, Tamara, if you could talk a little bit about the co-chair situation that we have. And I think Bella, it'll answer your question that you had.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, I announced that I'd be stepping down from the co-chair position and hoping to recruit a solid replacement that has a data brain. And since Ruby has also been elected to co-chair of the COC, I believe her intention is also to step down. And so we are recruiting 2 new co-chairs that will hopefully, begin their role maybe January of 2025 or so, or sooner, depending on onboarding and like schedules. But the opportunity is open, and if you are interested in co-leading this committee, you can reach out to either Ruby, myself, Daniel, to get more context and information. But I believe they just sent out the questions, so you should have those, and we'll want to have you kind of present your answers at the next public committee meeting in November. So I believe we're doing the vote in November. So any questions on that?
I just want to
Thanks, Tamara.
go ahead, Bella. Go ahead, Bella.
Thanks for that review. That is basically the email that I replied back about the questions that were emailed to me. And I guess I would like to know, like, if we have to submit our information, before public review, when is that particular deadline? Like, when do you want these replies back? Is there any corresponding or, additional documents or anything that you would want to have? Mostly I'm interested in, if we're presenting publicly what our reasoning is for this, do we have to get these replies back to somebody so that they can post them publicly before the meeting within the time period that's needed before that meeting, takes place? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great question. I tend to be more informal, so I'm going to defer to Ruby or Daniel for guidance on that. But I don't know if we necessarily need to post your responses on the website or anything. But yeah, I think having your responses to the co-chairs, definitely maybe 2 weeks before the next public meeting. But I guess we can put that on our planning meeting agenda to make that decision, because I'm not quite sure where Ruby's at or where Daniel might want to take that and place it on the agenda. Not sure.
Yeah, if Daniel has anything to add, but I think I would just be, I would say as long as we have it within 2 weeks of the board meeting, or I mean the committee meeting date, then we could send it out to the committee members. I don't believe if we do the section on the agenda where we have you guys read your answers maybe, or give a little bit more of a speech and just biography, it would be fine too, because this is a rather informal co-chair election process here. So Daniel, did you have anything to add?
I did. Bella, I love all the questions that you're bringing forth in this committee today. And that last question about process, that's another one of those areas that I'm going to be having CSH, Susan, the HUD technical advisors. We're going to be looking at that. That's something as a planning team that we've looked at this month. I talked about this month and last month is what is, we have been more ad hoc and informal in that. I think there is some room there to improve and make that a more formal process. And that's something I'm going to be bringing up with our HUD TA in terms of, what our best practice is. Do we want to do recruitment once a year at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year? We also have a work group internally at KCRHA trying to bring alignment with our boards and committees. So I think just like in a zoomed out, generally speaking, that's something that we're going to be embarking on and looking at, Bella, on that process. So far, the ad hoc process has been when we have an opening, we've been recruiting, putting notice on our website, and then inviting those that have applied. There's an application like what you had done, Bella, and others, putting in that application, reviewing it, having committee members review that, and then going to a vote, and then posting after the meeting the application on our website, so that the application is there for public view. So that's always come after the committee has reviewed it and voted on it. There's a lot. Do you want me to repeat any of that, or did everyone get that?
Thank you for the context, Daniel, and for the work ahead for it.
Yeah, this is all good.
May I add a little something? Last year, we stood up a governance committee, and if we're going to make changes to how the boards work for the continuum of care, I believe that the goal is always to bring in members, the membership in some form or fashion, along with not just strictly members of the board, but being able to diversify and build ownership of the continuum through its membership. Victor, I think, was the lead on the last time that group got together. And if there's going to be ongoing structural work around the continuum of care, I think that the folks in the continuum or off some of the boards should be involved. And that would hopefully alleviate the over-reliance of necessarily technical assistance or overloading our staff members. So sometimes an extra group creates a little work, but in the long run, it's better work, in my opinion. Thanks.
Marvin, could I ask you just for some additional
Sure.
Some additional context there?
Yep.
What I was more circling around was the system performance committee, and specifically like our onboarding of new members and the co-chair process. You're tying that to the COC process, and
so the COC has 3 committees that are stood up. All 3 have different ways of seating its board members. There's no consistency in it. And my offer is this is a perfect opportunity if we're going to look at how we seat boards across the continuum of care. This is a perfect opportunity to get some alignment. That's it. Thanks.
As a co-chair of the COC board currently, I'm extremely concerned that there's a work group that is looking at any documents without us. Just flagging that.
Ruby, can you tell me a little more about the concern there, just so I can document it?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my main concern there is just that. So in the framework of the COC as a program and how CFR 24 CFR part 578 is, it's pretty clear on, I mean, like HMIS leads, of course, can handle their processes and such, but this is all something that sits under the continuum of care. And my understanding is that as the collaborative applicant, like we would, as the COC would need to be involved with the collaborative applicant and definitely be working with our own documents in general. And so my concern is just that if there is technical assistance being provided, the COC board and the COC membership should be involved at all times. My understanding of the program is, at least, but I could be incorrect. Maybe I'm reading it wrong because I'm not a lawyer, but that's it. So I'm just a little, I'm excited to hear that there's a work group because I think it's work that needs to be done, but I just hope that we're going to be involved in it.
Great. Thank you for that clarity, Ruby. And I just want to distinguish 2 things. The HUD TA is really focused on just reviewing where our guidelines are at and where there should be improvement. that's not going to take away the system performance committee's review and confirmation of any of those policy changes.
Sure.
And then the other group that I mentioned is just KCRHA staff, and it's more administrative in nature, where we're just looking at, are we doing things the same on the committee? If not, why not? And I really do appreciate, though, what does that mean in terms of what do we have to do to engage these boards so that we're not doing anything siloed in terms of restructuring or any of that. So I've got a note here on that, and I'm gonna make sure that gets discussed. Also,
yeah, I mean the HUD TAs are TAs to the COC, correct? I
and
believe.
Yeah, and that's actually I was gonna mention there. I'm gonna talk with Susan specifically and ask about that particular piece, and then to ensure that there's no overstepping there. Like, definitely.
Well, I know that on the charter, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know that on the COC charter, it says that we as a board have the ability to update our charter per the HUD regulations. So right there in our charter, it's mentioning that we should be involved in that. It doesn't say that KCRHA staff can update our charter or our documents to match the HUD program. Just flagging that.
Yeah, and they're really going to be doing just an analysis to see if we're adhering to everything in HUD guidelines on how we're again, example, onboarding new agencies, offboarding, and I do have a list of some of the items here. Well,
yeah, if you want to send that to me, we don't have to read it over.
Yeah, I can share that with you all during our next planning meeting, and then make sure that the rest of the group is aware of that. But this is pretty common for HUD TA to step in and help administrators who are doing this work with COC funding. I want to just put that out there. There's no me trying to go around anybody in the group or this committee. In fact, this committee is just critically important in that process. But I will clarify that with Susan and them and make sure we're not we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's and not doing something that we're not supposed to. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate, you know, I do trust your words, Daniel. So I'm looking forward to the update on that ASAP because we do have the convening coming up with the charter review, revision work group and everything. So I just really want to flag that I'm also looking at those things, and so just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yep, that's going to be something I'm going to send out before tomorrow to Susan and that team and Joanne and see. Don't want to make any mistakes here.
Hi, this is Tamara. I want to remind folks that we have agreed as a committee to work on well-being metrics, and so I had lunch with a couple of members of Full Frame Initiative today, and that was beautiful and so invigorating that I really want to emphasize. I want to do a deep dive into each of the 6 principles of the well-being blueprint, maybe starting in January, like each month, doing a deep dive into one of the 6 principles, and then getting feedback on what we want to measure as far as the person-centered metrics, how well are projects serving people, and also how well are organizations supporting well-being and of their staff. So it's kind of a 2-pronged approach. And I specifically am waiting until I have the financial resources to support funding or paying people with lived experience or living experience to contribute their wisdom and expertise on the issue, and then pulling in data and emerging best practices from like the Office of Equity, Washington State Office of Equity, and some of the research that the legislature is looking at as they make laws. So I'm hoping to position the System Performance Committee in the light of being innovative and driving systems change through well-being oriented system performance metrics. And I don't think this has been done anywhere. By like having lived experience not only be the center. I don't want to be tokenized. I don't want the theory of change to be monopolized and co-opted by the governing committee or any public official anywhere. So I want this to be driven by people who are experiencing homelessness or have experienced homelessness. The service providers, and that includes myself, are auxiliary to them. We partner, we walk alongside, but we are not the leaders. So I want to make that very clear as we're like talking about transparency and accountability and values and priorities. Those should be at the center. And so what I'm hoping to do is do that deep dive, get feedback from this group, from the Mental Health and Wellbeing Committee group, through the Lived Experience Coalition, through the larger COC membership, and all the other networks, you know, such as with the Full Frame Initiative, who will help provide specialized guidance, I guess, in making this happen. And I'm hoping people will get excited about this, because if we can translate our data to HUD that shows how reorienting our systems towards well-being could, one, do the significant reduction in homelessness, partnered with like structural changes to like racism and like the institutional practices that keep people oppressed. So this is a large scale effort. And so I know we have to start small, but I want to be able to provide like visuals and do a deep dive into what this means. Because when we say well-being, that may mean different things to different people, different communities. So how can we define that as a community? Deferring to people who have or are experiencing homelessness, and getting the support of this committee and KCRHA will be very helpful, especially knowing that there is going to be a move backwards to having the governing committee power hoard, and we need to like take our power. We need to take our power back and exercise it, and hopefully develop mutual understanding between the boards. I'm a little bit bitter and resentful, if you can't tell, but like I want it to be driven home and drilled into the mindsets of all the people who hold positions of power, both in government and nonprofits and philanthropy, that you cannot make meaningful change, lasting change, without the direct leadership and guidance of the folks who are closest to the problems, because they're the ones closest to the solutions. And I believe, and based on previous iterations of the board, we believe that reorienting towards well-being, supporting individual, family level, community level well-being will radically transform our society and our communities, to where we're creating conditions for wellness and for well-being and resisting oppression. I guess that's the best way I can say it. So yeah, I'm hoping we can map that out during the next planning meeting with Ruby and Daniel. I want to not to be totally self-interested here, but I want to make a plan for one principle each month until we've done the whole analysis, and then build on that a framework for evaluating our systems. I know that was a lot I just shoved in your faces. Any questions? And I see Bella.
Yeah. That's a aggressive plan. I love it. And I would love to understand a little bit more of the context behind that, because the work that you're mentioning is not something that I'm privy to right now. And to be able to look at integrating, you know, what you're requesting into, it sounds like our monthly meetings. Okay. You know, how did this come about? And yeah, because that kind of you know, research is important and fruitful, but I would also appreciate the foundational understanding behind it. Thanks.
Oh, of course. And I've got so much foundation to give you. So maybe we can connect offline, but I certainly can provide history and context. I don't know if we have the time now, but
yeah, that would help. Thank you, Tamara.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Of course, anytime. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Tamara. And I've always appreciated you elevating the Wellbeing Group Blueprint. And Bella, we do have a work plan that is posted on the website on our notes. I can't remember which month, but I have a note here to go ahead and send that back out and recirculate that so folks can do that.
Thank you.
On that note, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. We did have on the agenda the co-chair review of applications and votes. Tamara, Ruby, did we get any applications, Chair?
I can't remember
Or
if we
any
got
interest?
any. Yeah, I don't know if we got any applications, but I do know that we did go over the co-chair bit, and we're gonna have a vote on that. It sounded like next meeting. So
Next meeting. So we'll circulate that out, and I'll attach.
If there's an application, please send one. In the loose ad hoc way, I thought that chairs were elected by the board members and the nomination process went. You open the nominations, folks get nominated, and we go through. I double check with all to see if there's something that there has changed. If there's an application needed, that too should probably get sent out to the board members so that we can apply if we just be nominated. Thanks.
I think it's just a questionnaire, just a guide, like what you would say at the meeting, Marvin, just for right now until we refine the process, it sounds like.
And I did send that out via email.
No. I'm sorry, I didn't get enough. Sorry.
I did send that out via email. At the time of sending it, I was a little bit panicked and didn't know what it was for, but those questions in your email titled SPC meeting are for the for what Ruby's talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll look for it.
Okay, well, with that, is there any other questions or comments from the committee before we adjourn for the day?
I do have a quick update. If anybody's not looking for something to do this afternoon, we've got the public comment hearing for the budget for City of Seattle starting at 5 p.m. So hopefully I'll see you there.
That's an important one. Thank you, Ruby. Thank you all for showing up today. Appreciate everyone's time and everyone's contributions. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.